At this time, I'd like to introduce our second plenary speaker this morning, Anna Steinberg. Anna is a baker and mental health advocate. She began a home-based bakery called the Borderline Bakery at the beginning of COVID to help her own mental health and bring awareness and end the stigma of talking about mental health issues. She was diagnosed at 21 with borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Anna from Buffalo, New York. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, Paula. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Steinberg. I am the owner of Borderline Bakery. And more importantly, I have borderline personality disorder, and it has impacted my life in so many ways. I grew up in a loving, well-off household. My parents are still together after 38 years of marriage. There was never any abuse or devastating tragedy in my childhood. And I mention that because of the false assumption many people have, even professionals, that BPD is a part of PTSD and just a result of trauma. But no, I had a privileged childhood with loving parents and siblings and friends. The only real trauma came when I was beginning puberty and I started gaining weight. I was bullied often because of my weight, one time leading to my first suicide attempt at age 12. But I had BPD way before the bullying started, which I can recognize now so many years later. It was 2008, and I was 21 years old when I was officially diagnosed. I had gone through a manic period followed by incredible depression, which led to my first ever psychiatric hospitalization. I stayed inpatient for only 3 days, but during that time, I was diagnosed mainly with bipolar disorder and anxiety. And a few weeks later, I took a bottle of pills and had my second psychiatric hospitalization of the month at a different hospital than the first time. During those 10 days, I was officially diagnosed with BPD. However, not one professional shared the diagnosis with me. I don't know if it was purposeful or just an oversight, but I proceeded to spend my next 9 years unaware of my BPD diagnosis. I was in and out of psychiatric hospitals for the next 9 years. I would go to a lot of outpatient therapy for my bipolar disorder, but I was a therapist hopper and never stayed with a therapist for more than just a few sessions. I thought I was just incurable. I was losing hope at ever being, thinking, or behaving normally. During one depressive episode when I was 30 years old, I was on the phone with my mom. I mentioned how I was losing, and she asked if it could be an issue with my borderline personality disorder. Wait, what? I had never been told about my BPD. I left a message with the hospital where I was supposedly diagnosed, and soon enough got a call back from the social worker, who I had dealt with multiple times throughout the years. She confirmed that, yes, it was right there in the chart that I had been diagnosed with BPD 9 years earlier. And that was a complete 180 turnaround in my life. I was so angry and scared at first. Not only the anger that nobody had told me, but the fear of what the diagnosis of BPD meant for me. The only references to BPD I had seen were from television and books. Nothing positive. It was a friend who calmed my fears and explained that I'm still me. I'm still Anna. I am a good, kind person. The diagnosis has always been there. It has always been a part of me. And there was just a name for it now. As I started researching BPD, I was shocked when I looked at a list of symptoms and could check off every single one as something I experience. There was no doubt in my mind at that point. I definitely had borderline personality disorder. And then I began DBT therapy. Dialectical behavioral therapy is something that I should have been doing for those 9 years when I didn't know of my diagnosis. When I began DBT, everything clicked. I am now using DBT skills in so much of my life that I no longer have to think about it. It's become automatic. My life is so much better with these tools in my toolbox that I can use whenever I need to. For years, when someone told me to use my tools to deal with my emotions, it was like I had them stuck in a locked toolbox, but I didn't have the key. Now I feel like my toolbox is never locked and I always have access to the tools I need. So when COVID hit last year, my babysitting job no longer needed me, and I had to find something else to do with my time and energy. After my first hospitalization so many years ago, I had spent weeks baking dozens of apple pies as stress relief. So COVID hit, I was in my apartment with nothing to do, and one day I ordered a stand mixer. A nice, huge KitchenAid stand mixer. My mixer is an aqua color, and it has purple and yellow daisy stickers that I put all over it. And when that arrived, I began making bread. I had made bread a few months before in a bread machine, but there was something different about using the mixer. That feeling of stress relief was back when I got to work with the dough, which I hadn't felt when using the more hands-off approach of the bread machine. So I started making bread, a lot of bread. And I posted on Facebook asking if anyone would be interested in buying some bread if I offered non-contact porch delivery. And the response was absolutely overwhelming. Everyone wanted comfort carbs during such a difficult time. Before I could legally sell the baked goods out of my apartment, I needed to register as an official cottage law bakery in New York State. I sat down to fill out the application. I had approximately 5 minutes to fill out the form and get it into the mailbox before the mail carrier arrived. And the first question, name of business. I had never thought about that before. I wanted something that would stand out, something that people would remember. A few dozen ideas flew into my head and right out, and then it hit me. Borderline Bakery. I had never been shy about sharing my mental health story, so why not use this opportunity with the bakery for advocacy? I typed it in, printed out the form, and got it to the mailbox in time, and the name was set. I love it when people ask me about the name. It gives me a chance to share my story and to work to end the stigma surrounding mental health. Since I started the bakery, more and more people have come up to me to tell me their stories. There are so many people who don't think it's okay to discuss their mental health. Because of this, we truly have no idea how many people are dealing with the same things we are. If only we could all just be open. If only there wasn't such a stigma about it. And that's what my bakery is working towards. We love hearing people's stories and advocating for those who feel like they can't tell their stories. My bakery now has a steady clientele. We recently began selling at craft fairs and pop-up markets. Alex, who was only an acquaintance when she agreed to design the bakery's logo, is now one of my best friends and my business partner. I like to say that I do the baking and she does everything else. We keep each other going, personally and professionally, and the bakery just couldn't survive without her. My BPD diagnosis definitely changed my life, but made it overwhelmingly better. My relationships are flourishing because I now have the tools to manage my emotions so much better. I still have my struggles. Bad days are definitely a thing, but they usually only last a day. I had a hard time with election season because I love to argue with strangers behind the privacy of a computer screen, and I ended up having to limit my access to news sources. And I definitely need to work on my spending habits and financial control. But through the bad, I have to remember that I have an amazing support system, a wonderful, loving cat named Marley, a thriving business, and a ton of houseplants that make me really happy. Borderline personality disorder doesn't have to be a bad thing. I just needed to learn how to embrace it. Thank you so much, Paula and Emotions Matter, for letting me speak today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Anna. I know that we're all craving bread right now, and if we were in Buffalo, we'd be wanting to taste and experience your bakery. Thank you for bringing your message to the world through your good work. This concludes our opening plenary. We'll see you all in the panels or in the lobby at 11 o'clock. Take care, everyone.